his own means. One in the north, one in the south. He set up the lowest of the people. If you think about that, he set up the lowest. He didn't plan, he would have had the Levites in his crew, but he didn't put the Levites in charge of the sacrifices, or another view might be that the Levites didn't even want to partake of that or worship in that way because they knew it was wrong. But if you think about the words lowest of the people, that means they were the base of people. They were the people probably that lacked no conviction. They had low morals, low standards. They'd let anything go. If somebody came by with a sheep that had half of its leg torn off, be like, yeah, that'll be fine. If somebody came by and the lamb, was all, missing an eye or something or other, they'd just turn a blind eye to that. They were the lowest of people. They didn't have high regard for any of these things. He just wanted people who would lack backbone, who would be pliable, who would be flexible to what he is suggesting and what he is offering. So God had to put a stop to this. He had to put a stop to this because he had stopped people from worshipping him. And that wasn't the intent. So in 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 1 and 3, we read about a man of God who came to speak to Jeroboam. And behold, there came a man of God out of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar. So this is the man of God crying against the altar in the word of the Lord, and said, O altar, thus saith the Lord, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign which the Lord hath spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. So this man of God spoke against the altar. He prophesied that Josiah would be born. Now we know that Josiah actually was born, and he did fulfill all of this, but it was a long time after this. I think there was maybe 10 or more kings that went before Josiah actually came. So he knew that this was coming, but he wanted to give a sign of right now what was going to happen. So when we read on, this is what happened. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of God, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, lay hold on him. And his hand, which he poured forth, dried up, so that he could not pull it again to him. So this hand was just pointing like this, just all dried up and withered. He couldn't even bring it in to disguise what he'd done. It was completely dead to him. It was dried up, it was shriveled. The altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord. So Jeroboam had fallen away from God, so far that the Lord was not his God anymore. If we read this in verse 6, the king answered and said unto the man of God, entreat now the face of the Lord thy God. So he wasn't even saying that God was his God anymore. That's how far he had fallen. That's how counterfeit he had become. That's how much he had fallen away from the word of God, or from where he should be. Entreat now the face of the Lord thy God, and pray for me that my hand may be restored me again. And the man of God besought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. So Jeroboam had fallen away, so that the Lord was not his any longer. He had to ask the man of God to heal him of his shriveled up arm. And sure enough, we read there that it was restored him again. The Lord did that for a sign. Now, what was interesting was that this prophet, you really spoke to me when I read through this. I'm like, what happened to the prophet after this? We know that the hand was shriveled up, and then was all withered and all straight, and then it was brought back to life again. But this is what the king started to do. So the king knew, he was a very, very good, probably, king in the sense that he knew how to rule people. He knew that he didn't want them to go back there, so he created somewhere else for them to worship. He would have created, his own months of feasts. He would have created his own religious system of sacrifices and the own people to sacrifice. And so he saw here a man that came to him that couldn't be controlled. He couldn't overpower this man, because this man had something that he didn't have. He didn't have the God that this man had. He had to plead for the man to pray to his God for his faith to be, for his hand to be healed. So he did the next best thing. He wanted him on his side. And so he said to that man in verse 7, "And the king said unto the man of God, Come home with me and refresh thyself, and I will give thee a reward. Forget that I'm so evil and forget that I'm so bad. Come with me. You could do good at my place. I'll feed you. I'll look after you. I'll give you a reward. I'll pay you for your service. Come home and eat with me." But what do we know about this man of God? He could smell that rat. He could smell it. He said, "And the man of God said unto the king, If thou wilt give me half of thine house." Now remember, this is Solomon's son. This is Jeroboam, who had 10/12 of Solomon's kingdom, in his power, at his reign. If you'd given me up to half of thine house, well, oftentimes, I've thought about buying a lottery ticket for just $1 million that you'd be able to get. That lottery ticket, $5 could, really sounds quite good. But here, if we think about how much this man was willing to give away so that this guy could be on his side, up to half of thine house, he said, "I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place. I will not touch what you have. I will not go near your smell, your disgusting palace, your, shriveled up, disgusting place. I'm not going near you. I'm not even having water from your place." Sometimes when you go into the city or somewhere where you're not used to drinking water and you drink something from their tap, it's like, I won't even touch that. He's saying, "I will not eat from this place. I will not drink water in this place." He smelt the rat and he's like, "No way. I am not going into you." And then we keep on reading here, "For it was charged me by the word of the Lord, saying." So he not only says no, but he explains why. He says, "Eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that thou comest." So he went another way and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. So on his bike he went back to where he should be, following what the Lord had told him to do. The Lord had said, "Go there, do your message. Don't eat nor drink, no stop there. Just keep on doing what you need to do and then go back to Bethel another way." So the prophet of God, after doing his work, was going home. He was doing his work. He'd done all of his stuff that he needed to do. He's going home, and obviously he just needed to have a little bit of a rest. So he's having a little rest, and then this is what happened. "Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel." So obviously his sons were at the place where the king's hand had shriveled up and was restored again. So he was able to tell the old man about what had happened. "The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father. And their father said unto them, What way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of God went, which came from Judah. And he said unto his sons, Saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon, and went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, Art thou the man of God that comest from Judah? And he said, I am. Then he said with him, Come home with me and eat bread. He was tempted twice right here.